Thank you for joining us at FTP Sports Games. This short video gives information about the cheat sheet for individual player actions. And what it does is it's on one page, front and back, divided into sections. It gives quick reference for each individual player action involved in sideline football and what takes place, whether that individual player action, the result of it is in range or out of range. The individual player actions come from, if you're playing the play result card deck in charts version, this chart here, it's the main chart that kind of sits in the center of everything. These are the individual player actions that are involved to resolve each play. The vast majority of all plays come from using the play result card deck, this main chart, and then the player cards that you have for the teams that you're playing with. So for this Sideline Football Game Center chart, these are individual player actions by play type: running plays, short yardage plays, screen plays, pass plays, etc., etc. On the Sideline Football Game Center, whether you're on the visitor tab or the home tab, the Game Center chart is replaced by this section here. And it flips this information each time you click run. It shows the individual player actions and everything you need to resolve a run play right here next to the telestrator. When you click pass, everything that you need to resolve that pops up there. Same for screen plays. So each of these individual player actions that is described here, and also on the Sideline Football Game Center, each individual player action that is called upon to get to a result of the play, these are a cheat sheet here is given for some quick reference, short information for use until you pretty much have down everything you need. After a while, you won't need to look anymore to determine what happens if the defender stuffs the run or sets the edge on a sweep to contain the edge run and sweep run. They're all explained in great detail in the instructions for sideline football. And so if you look at them here, these are the individual player actions for running plays. So when we look back to the cheat sheet, if the individual player action to resolve a run play called for let's say the nose tackle to stuff the run. Well, the instructions state that this IPA calls for an interior defensive lineman on dive and slam plays to stuff the run, allowing a defender to flow to the ball and make it stop. So in other words, the defensive lineman is cutting off the blocking or doing something to disrupt everything at the point of attack, and then someone else comes in and cleans it up. And it tells you what rating is used and what happens if it's in range. In other words, if the number 1 through 20 random number that you get fits within that player's range, then what happens and what happens if it doesn't. It's called in range and out of range. Well, this cheat sheet tells you that. So the stuff run IPA, you use the player, in this case the nose tackle. Let's look at San Francisco. The nose tackle is Manu Tuiasosopo. If the number we get is within 1 through 14, then he has stuffed the run. All right, and then the cheat sheet tells you here that you would use the red number as the end result for the yardage for the play. And if it's above that number 14 that he had, when we look back, then you use the black number. All right. So when we look at the Sideline Football Game Center, if this were a dive play, let's say it was intended for the linebacker level. If Manu Tuiasosopo stuffs it, it only goes for 3 yards. And if he doesn't stuff it, then it goes for 7. So as you look here, once it becomes more oriented towards offensive IPAs, you can never get to the green level when a defensive IPA is involved. However, if we go to the running back read hole level, we see that there's a few more here because there's a chance for him to break through the hole. Each time a running back gets a chance to read the hole, he's either reading it or trying to break through that hole and may even actually break away depending on what happens. So it's flipped. If the running back fails to read the hole, then it's that bottom red number. If he does, but nothing extra happens, it's the black number. If it's really good, say like a 1 or a 2, and he has a breakaway rating, and when we look back at San Francisco, let's say Wendell Tyler has break opportunities of 1 and 2. So his read hole rating is 16, his breakthrough rating is 4, and his actual breakaway is 2. So when we look back, if we called a dive play and the individual player action involved called for a right here, if it was 31 through 50, it called for Wendell Tyler to read the hole. We go back here, if it's looking back at Tyler's card, he has a read hole rating of 16. If it's if the number 1 through 20 used to get the result of the play is 18, for example, then you use the red number. And on a dive play, that then corresponds to the level that he got to. Let's say level he got to was the defensive line. Well, when we look back, since he didn't read the hole effectively, in this example, then on a dive play, it's 1 yard. If it's, say, a number 10, then that is within his read hole rating, but nothing low enough to do anything else. And when we look back, we see that that's going to be the black number. Well, then he gained 2 on the play. But if we start to get lower, we see that, let's say, for example, that a 4, the random number 1 through 20 is 4. Well, then he pops through, he breaks through that hole, and his gain is actually going to be 7. If it's a 1 or a 2, as we saw, since that's within his actual breakaway rating, then we would resolve everything for a long gain. And so the cheat sheet contains all of the information for that, for screen plays, short yardage plays, the read option, triple option, and then we flip to the other page, pass plays, all the steps involved in pass plays, and then especially here, pressure passes. There's a lot of things that take place on pressure passes, dealing with the mindset you choose for the quarterback, whether it's conservative, normal, or aggressive. And then everything that takes place with, this is very helpful down here, ball in air defense, what happens when a defender, if he gets to cut off the route or break up the pass, etc., etc. And then just a quick synopsis of how you resolve the start of a blitz play. So anyways, this cheat sheet will help you get a firm understanding of what is involved on each type of play, and pretty soon, like we talked about before, you won't need to look anymore at the cheat sheet when it says, the IPA says for the nose tackle to stuff the run. You know what that calls for, and you'll never have to look again. It's as easy as that. And then as you start playing games, when more things come up, the less you'll have to access the cheat sheet or even look at the instructions for further directions on what to do. And then when more obscure things take place, well, you have this in front of you here to give you a good start as to understanding how to resolve that. So when you have this laid out in front of you, whether you're using the computer game center or you're using the card deck and charts, this will help you and go a long ways to making it a little bit smoother to learn how to deal with each of these individual player actions and start having tons of fun playing games.